you know, either younger than us or, you know, passed and retired. So why not? You know, I want to challenge myself. The best always looking to fight the best and challenge themselves, you know, and why not, you know, challenge.
Terence Crawford can't beat him, right? This is a money grab for Terence Crawford. It's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his legacy.
But if you study Floyd closely, like I have, you will notice that he never wastes any steps while he's in the ring.
Terence Crawford apparently accepts Floyd Mayweather's fight offer in a live interview with Stephen A. Smith. Crawford explains that boxing is about pushing his limitations and taking on great challenges. He underlines that the greatest should battle the best, and he is willing to step up once more. Crawford expresses calm confidence, stating that facing Mayweather is another opportunity for him to establish himself and exceed expectations.
Man, because this is Terence the businessman talking, right? They got to pay the cheddar to make it better, right?
For sure, for sure. All money ain't good money, so you gotta know that.
Okay, fair enough. I hate to use the word easy, but at times it did feel like you were, you know, having a really easy time out there. Were you expecting it to play out that way?
Listen, it's never easy, you know.
Stephen A. Smith has always been opinionated about sports, and boxing is no different. When he compliments Terence Crawford on becoming a champion in 4 different weight classes, it is not a casual compliment, but rather an appreciation of an accomplishment that is uncommon in modern boxing. Crawford's ability to dominate at 4 different weight classes sets him apart in today's world, where boxers are typically hesitant to move up divisions due to the risks associated. Stephen A. emphasizes Crawford's adaptability and superiority, which establish him as an all-time great pound-for-pound fighter. It demonstrates not only his physical adaptability, but also his technical expertise, mental toughness, and drive to continue pushing himself against increasingly harder opposition.
Terence Crawford is the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude. In this 4-belt era, he is now the undisputed world champion 3 times over. 140 pounds, 147, now 168 pounds, claiming all the belts. You don't see people doing that very often. Going up against a guy who was perceived as being bigger and stronger, Crawford was strong. Crawford was strong enough to fend him off, strong enough to make him respect his own power. He used his jab, he used his distance. He had poise in the ring, he wasn't rattled. He backed up and moved when necessary and kept us different. He exchanged enough to gain respect when necessary. It was a brilliant, brilliant, masterful fight on Terence Crawford's part.
Roy Jones Jr., a superstar who knows personally what it takes to reign throughout divisions, has praised Crawford's boxing prowess. He points out that in Crawford's battle against Canelo Alvarez, he exhibited the capacity to draw on the arsenals of Floyd Mayweather and Aries Londila to fighters who had troubled Canelo in various ways. According to Jones, Crawford's ability to observe, understand, and then implement effective techniques distinguishes him. It demonstrates that he is not only a skilled fighter, but also a keen observer of the sport. Jones was most impressed by Crawford's ability to not just copy, but also adapt these tactics to his own rhythm, making them more successful in real-time situations. This versatility distinguishes him from many fighters who adhere to a single style and compete against elite opponents.
As Canelo Alvarez has been a great fighter his whole career, people like Aries Londila gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. People like Floyd Mayweather also gave you the blueprint on how to beat him. But Bud is more fierce, more fearsome and more angrier and more meaner than both of those guys. So you know if they showed you the blueprint, Bud gonna go out there, take that blueprint and do even more with it, which is what Bud did. So it was never a question in my mind whether Bud really was going to outbox me, just if he could take the punch. And right away he showed, bam, he could take the punch. So I knew from that point, if he just slow him down, which he did, he'd be okay. Then late in the fight, what other people still didn't see, late in the fight, Bud started hitting Canelo's body. One of those body shots, I think about the 7th or 8th round, hurt Canelo. I was like, whoa. Bud hit him in the right spot then, and he got Canelo's respect with that too. So Bud fought a very, very awesome fight, fought a beautiful fight, very tactical.
Very controlled.
Yes, it was a beautiful fight for boxing.
It was a beautiful fight. You know, Bud got hit with some shots.
He did. He did.
He got hit with some single shots going out. You know, he's going out, and Canelo, if he has you trapped in the corner or along the ropes, it's typically 1 to 2 big shots. You know that if you've watched him.
Yep.
So you could tell Crawford, as he was going out, he knew the one shot was coming, and several times it landed. He even got hit with a 2-piece. I don't remember what round it was, uppercut right hand that Crawford took well. So when you started seeing him absorb the shots, if you're Team Crawford, you don't want him to take that shot. But if you started seeing that, now you know that, okay. And I think that's what gave Crawford the green light to stay there a little bit longer.
He smiled about it.
He smiled about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes that smile can be a lie, and sometimes that smile can mean what I think it meant for Crawford, which is, oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was.
The concept of Crawford facing Floyd Mayweather, even in an exhibition battle, has aroused heated debate. Critics argue that a fight like this may jeopardize Crawford's legacy. They feel that instead of building on his historic successes, such as defeating Errol Spence and outclassing Canelo, he will pursue financial gain over competitive glory. This image arises from Mayweather's recent focus on high-paying exhibition battles rather than significant legacy bouts. Analysts argue that Crawford has worked too hard to risk being perceived as someone who prioritizes money over history. Others feel that Crawford's legacy is already secure, and if he decides to fight Mayweather, it will merely add another intriguing chapter to his life.
For Terence Crawford, it's just a situation where Terence Crawford is trying to fill up his bank account opposed to actually his legacy. This is what was being said, right? This is what people perceived. Terence Crawford was just attempting to cash out.
When fans compare Mayweather and Crawford's careers, the discourse becomes difficult. Floyd's resume includes victories over some of the finest names in the sport. However, Floyd's critics frequently refer to the timing of his victories. Canelo was young and inexperienced when he faced Mayweather, and Pacquiao was injured during their highly anticipated fight in 2015. Furthermore, Floyd's refusal to allow rematches, notably with Pacquiao, raised suspicions among many fans. Crawford, on the other hand, has dominated opponents who were thought to be at their peak when they faced him. This comparison sparks endless discussions about whether Mayweather's success in the ring was due to skill or premeditated timing and matchmaking.
Floyd Mayweather is still greater than Terence Crawford. We need to really talk about this now. A lot of you guys are putting Crawford a bit too high. If you want to say Crawford could beat Floyd, I'm more open to that conversation, but when you're lining up the careers, I'm going to say Floyd every time. While they're both 5 division, Bud has become 3-time undisputed, but he's only fought 10 world champions to Floyd's 25 world champions. You can't take away the 5 division, 3-time undisputed. In terms of accolades, yeah, he probably gets the nod over Floyd. I say their accolades are about relative, considering Floyd Mayweather won Fighter of the Decade as well. But when you get to the resumes, Pacquiao, Oscar, Canelo, Cotto, Mosley, Castillo, Marquez, Zab, Gotti, Hatton, and Corley. It's probably way more people that this guy just didn't name. And then when you get to Bud's resume, not saying it's just bad, but the only names that's really worth mentioning is going to be Spence and Canelo. It's not a knock on Bud. Bud was not able to make those fights early on in his career. But I got to tell you guys what it is. Bud's resume just doesn't line up with Floyd's. Take their top 20 wins. Bud don't even got 20 wins to really sit here and name. Floyd got a good 20-something plus. Bud probably got about 10 wins that we could really sit here and name. Floyd's still greater than Bud in my opinion.
Tony Jeffries, a famous boxing commentator, has stated that Floyd Mayweather's most powerful weapon was not his defense or speed, but his thinking. According to Jeffries, Floyd's unshakable belief in his ability to defeat anyone was what made him genuinely powerful. Even in battles where the odds appeared to be close, Mayweather's belief in his superior boxing IQ always gave him the advantage. His ability to read opponents, adapt quickly, and remain calm under duress distinguished him from other fighters who depended only on physical abilities. Jeffries notes that Floyd's psychological advantage, combined with technical proficiency, made him appear practically unbeatable, which is why he retired with a spotless record.
Strong mindset, they're really confident, they really believe in themselves, but you need more than that mindset. You need to have the full package of everything that I'm talking about, what Floyd has got.
Fighters should only want to get better. The more you win, the more you should work hard. If you think about losing, you're going to lose. All I ever thought about was winning. So that's all I know.
Floyd would visualize his success but before he even stepped into the ring, there was no alternative to him but winning. And this mindset isn't just for boxing, it's for all walks of life. And I've actually done a full video talking about how I used this mindset of visualization to win my Olympic medal. And it was an absolute game changer. Now, Floyd used to use this mindset to ease the pressure that he put himself under. And he made himself think like, I'm not under any pressure right now, where he was under immense pressure.
Pressure either makes you or break you. Well, you see where I'm at, so it's obvious that I'm the type of athlete or I'm the type of entertainer that can deal with pressure. There's never no pressure.
Now, if you watch his fight in 2013 when he fought Canelo Alvarez, Canelo came in a young, strong, undefeated fighter, but by round 2, Floyd kind of had him figured out. He was reading Canelo's jab. He would slip outside and then come back with a clean counter punch, then move his feet and get out of the way. He basically had the full fight under control, and he was controlling the full rhythm of the fight. He was forcing Canelo to fight at his pace. And this is what he would do in all of his fights. He would get his opponent to do what he wanted them to do without their opponent even realizing it, which is what we call boxing IQ. Now, even though I'm not a fan of Floyd Mayweather personally, because of the time when I did meet him, what he said to me made me just feel like this guy is a piece of...
The boxing community is always looking for fascinating matchups. Terence Crawford versus David Benavidez has recently emerged as one of the most discussed prospects. Benavidez combines stature, power, and unrelenting aggression, qualities that pose a distinct challenge. Fans see this battle as the type of gamble that will push Crawford beyond anything he has faced before. Despite the fact that nothing has been formally announced, speculation continues. This discussion demonstrates fans' preference for high-risk, legacy-defining fights over demonstration spectacles with greater financial weight than sports worth. Crawford versus Benavidez would be a battle of ability versus size, precision versus aggression, making it a fantasy match for many boxing fans.
Not me, but shocked the world. This past Saturday, Mexican Independence Day weekend, what he took on defeated another first ballot Hall of Famer, but he essentially jumped up 3 weight classes, technically 2, from 154 to 168, but only had 1 fight at 154 last August against Israel Majamov. Terence Crawford defeated Saul Canelo Alvarez, who is a 4-division champion, 2-time undisputed super middleweight, and the reigning, at the time, super middleweight world champion, undisputed world champion. And Terence Crawford beat him handily and convincingly. And because he beat him so easily, now the 63 win, 3 loss, 2 draw, 39 win by way of knockout, biggest threat has been now imposed on Terence Bud Crawford. And that's the Mexican Ecuadorian monster, David Benavidez, who is a 2-division undefeated world champion, is the 2-time WBC super middleweight and reigning WBC light heavyweight, 175-pound champion, who has a record of 30 wins, no loss, no draw, 24 wins by way of knockout. He stands 6'2" with a 75-inch arm. This is a fight that David Benavidez has been calling for Canelo Alvarez when he was at 168, and Canelo Alvarez strategically maneuvered around him. But Canelo Alvarez is 5'7" with a 70-inch arm reach, started his career at 147 pounds, made his real name at 154 pounds. He's not a big guy, okay? And styles make fights. Benavidez is 6'2" with a 75-inch arm reach. His last fight at 168 against Demetrius Andrade, he rehydrated to 193. So he's a big guy. Canelo Alvarez probably rehydrate to 182, maybe 185 max, right? He's not a big guy, right?
Comparing Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford, is a contentious issue with no clear resolution. Both fighters faced the finest in their respective times and emerged victorious with outstanding performances. While Floyd's flawless record and defensive expertise put him apart from his peers, Crawford's ability to move up in weight while still dominating is as impressive. The argument is complicated by the fact that their times and situations are too different to make a direct comparison. Finally, it may be impossible to pronounce one superior than the other, but combined, they represent the pinnacle of boxing brilliance.
Oh my goodness, I said that was gonna happen. If Crawford was to win, we're gonna be seeing a lot of these debates on whether or not Floyd Mayweather or Terence Crawford is gonna be better. Now this is gonna be a debate for a long time. I'm talking about one of those debates like LeBron versus MJ, Messi versus Ronaldo. It's one of those. And the thing is, I can get behind it. Let me go ahead and say this. When it comes to resume, I do think we give Floyd Mayweather the edge. I mean, he beat a bunch of champions. He reigned for a long time. While Crawford, his resume is heavily criticized, and he's just not getting, his kind of respect for beating Errol Spence and Canelo Alvarez. But if we're talking strictly off of skills, this is where things get really tough to talk about. I think a fair assessment of this matchup would be Floyd Mayweather wins from 135 and 140, while Crawford wins from 147 to 154. And I say that because I feel like Floyd's style changed once he got to welterweight. He became a more defensive fighter, and he just wasn't as much focused on offense. And knowing this, I feel like Crawford would have had a much better chance of handling him. And we all know, Crawford was an absolute monster at welterweight. But man, like I said, this is gonna be a debate for a very long time. I can't wait to hear all the talk about it, but I'm curious on your thoughts. Who do you think wins in the fight, Floyd or Terence Crawford? Let's talk about it, and follow me for more boxing talk.
Greg Hackett's thoughts about Crawford's victory over Canelo eloquently convey the symbolic significance of the fight. By referring to Canelo as the best in boxing, Hackett underscores Canelo's dominance and fear in the sport throughout the past decade. Crawford's ability to not only confront him, but actually take control and deconstruct him, signifies a significant power shift. According to Hackett, Crawford has emerged as the new predator in the waterways, the fighter everyone else dread, the one at the pinnacle of the sport. This victory did more than simply add to his resume. It changed the face of boxing, establishing Crawford as the man who dethroned the shark and became the hunter himself.
Because you gotta remember, Canelo is the guy right now in the sport that's supposed to be the man, big bad wolf. You beat him, you the wolf. Now it's like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, who else I'm gonna fight? You beat the shark, you beat the wolf. Right. Damn. Like, ain't no more ops out there. It's ops out there, but who gonna make them really want to get up? That's the
shit gotta make sense. Like you said, you be the shark and then you be the wolf. Yeah. But there's the monster.
Yeah, there is, but that's like a real monster.
Bro, that's to me it don't make sense. But that's
really
what
a monster.
Yo, is that proof? All right, we got the legendary Pape in the building. Legend. But what makes sense? Like, what makes the most sense? I know you said get a line of suits, Brooks Brothers.
Yeah, get a line of suits. Get a line of suits, get your money, man. Go ahead and get the easy money, bro. You ain't gotta sweat no more.
What's up,
Not saying you ain't gotta work, you ain't gotta sweat.
What's happening?
He's paved a career where he could sit down at a table and get this money. He could come out with a Terence Crawford series now, just doing whatever he like to do. People gonna watch it. Nobody, the fighting part, people don't understand what it's like to be a fighter. A lot of times fighters really don't be interested in certain fights. It's cause when a guy see himself up here and then is fighting a guy down here, it don't interest him. So therefore when he train, he not gonna really train. He gonna train, but he not gonna train. He not gonna listen. He gonna feel like his coach taking it too serious, and he's like, man, this ain't even that.
Crawford's victory over Canelo Alvarez was a watershed point in his career, putting an end to any questions about him. His victory over Errol Spence had already silenced many skeptics who questioned his opposition. Crawford demonstrated his ability to thoroughly control a battle from beginning to end in his fight with Spence. However, it was the deconstruction of Canelo, a boxer regarded as practically impenetrable, that solidified his position in history. Analysts now universally agree that Crawford's triumphs have put an end to the argument over whether he is one of the greatest fighters of all time. His ability to outperform champions in numerous divisions establishes his dominance beyond question.
But I think there was enough action, and I think Crawford displayed his skill enough, even to someone with not the most trained eye, that they know they saw a very high-level athlete perform something at a very high level last night. I think he gained the sports world's attention last night and respect. He already did after Spence, but it went to another level in this fight.
And I think even the fight itself, like just from a median level, but then the moments where they were having these exchanges, like kind of late in the fight, then people were like, all right, it was good. Then like, okay, I saw somebody like they're squabbing, like there's a fight here. So I think it did.
And Crawford closed the show.
Yeah.
In 10, 11, 12, he stood in there and landed some hard shots and rocked Canelo at the bell. He didn't. James was talking about the great Floyd Mayweather. Floyd would go up on you 8-0 and then coast, and you might as well turn the fight off at midway through the ninth. Like, you know, he's not gonna. But Crawford didn't do that.
That's all for today's video. Stay tuned. Until the next